Diego Pavia is in prime position to stun Alabama.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making us part of your day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. Now, this episode's brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So download the app today. Now, we got an absolutely loaded show. It is Bama week, so there's a lot to talk about. College GameDay, I did a YouTube short about this. College GameDay is going to be in town. Gotta love that. Vanderbilt opens up as significant underdogs, double-digit underdogs, which is crazy for a team that's ranked inside of the top 20. So we'll talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about how to answer these questions that we have on defense. Junior Sherrill's locked in. But first, Diego Pavia had a historic game. And this, I think, each and every week gets him more and more prime to not only have a historic run to the season, but this week in particular, hey, we're going to stun Alabama. And even though we beat them last year, it is still very stunning to beat Alabama. Now, let's talk about how this has gotten to this point. Let's talk about how Diego Pavia's historic game and how we got here and everything that led up to this point. Now, some of the things that we learned over the weekend, right? The first thing is, man, he's special, man. He had a historic day, threw for over 300 yards. It's the first time he's done that. He had 5 touchdowns. He tied the school record. I mean, he had a monster day against Utah State. And, I mean, it just shows, like, this guy is not just all talk, right? I mean, he ran his mouth in the offseason. We all know what he did. Busting with the boys, Paul Feinbaum, Bobby Bones show, like every media opportunity he got during the summer, I guarantee you, people at the McGugin Center were like, oh, they were like wincing every time he answered a question or every time he get a question. But you saw all the bravado, you saw the confidence. A lot of people labeled it as cockiness, and he's absolutely backed it up. He's backed up every bit of it. He understood what he had to do. He understood the mission at hand. And it looks like, as of right now, he is backing every single word of that up. Because for Vanderbilt to look the way they look, especially on offense, and his message and his confidence and his energy goes throughout the entire locker room. All right. Everyone's affected by that. And you've seen it. They go and tame Williams-Brice Stadium. They go and tame Lane Stadium. They take down both of those games. They absolutely, well, they have a bench, put everybody in the game in the first game of the season, where that could have been kind of lackadaisical because Charleston Southern first game of the year, they're not very good. Like, that could have been kind of one of those, like, we got off to a slow start, but we pulled away type games, right? It wasn't. Georgia State, revenge game. They got every bit of that, 70 points. And first time that's happened since 1918. Their quarterback was in World War I the last time that happened. So that's some history right there. I think this is the second time in 40 years they've started 5-0. This is probably, I think, 125 points is the most points they've scored in back-to-back weeks since 1933. I think some historic numbers popping up for this Vanderbilt offense. And a lot of that, Diego Pavia has put this team on his back. And not only has he put this team on his back, he's not doing it alone. He's got help. He's got guys stepping up. He's leading. If he makes a mistake, he says, my bad. If someone else makes a mistake, he said, hey, I'm coming right to you. Like, Eli Stowers dropped a pass. Now, in normal situations, a cocky quarterback, a me-first quarterback would have said, okay, I'm not coming to you ever again because you're going to mess up my stats. You dropped the ball. No, not Diego Pavia. He came back to Eli Stowers twice in that sequence. So this historic game has to mean something to this team. Like, this historic game is just everything coming together for Diego Pavia up until this point. Now he's got to continue that, and I understand that, and he's got to continue to build on what's going on, but there's no reason for me to believe that he won't, because it's obvious he's watching film. It's obvious he throws with a lot more anticipation. It's obvious that he's worked on his footwork, and he's been working on it, and he still works on it. His throwing motion has gotten much more compact. His accuracy has gotten better, although I wish he could hit a couple more things down the field. But he's going to continue. That's like the last frontier of his game, is to hit those deep balls. Because I think there was one to Junior Sherrill, I think, and there was one to Trey Richardson that he just barely missed. There was one, it was a post route to Junior Sherrill. I mean, not to Trey Richardson. And I think Junior Sherrill, he missed him on a corner route to the back pylon. I think he just overshot him just by a couple of feet, and it was just out of his reach. But, those things, those shot plays, and you're gonna miss on a few of those, and that's okay. But if he ever decides he's going to consistently connect on those, like, I'm thinking he's going to be striking a pose, right? Because he's going to put up some monster numbers if he can do that. So, people are already, he's already shooting up the rankings, all of that stuff. But for him to understand, with all of this media attention coming off of last season, with everything people have thrown at him, all the defenses that have focused on him, he's still performing. There's 3 games that he hasn't finished. I take that back. I don't think he's finished a game yet. I don't think he's finished. I think Blaise Berlowitz has come in for him and finished each and every game. Not because he's been bad, not because he got hurt, but because they were lighting the opponent up. And they played South Carolina at South Carolina, and Blaise Berlowitz finished that game, played most of the fourth quarter. That's impressive, right? So the stats, I think, would be a little bit better. I think he probably would have had a 300-yard game already had he played an entire 4 quarters, especially against Virginia Tech. Because I think he was throwing some bombs, and he was connecting on those in that game. So what's made him so special, his running ability has always been there. His toughness has always been there. His leadership has always been there. Those things are the foundation of what makes Diego Pavia a great player. But it's the wherewithal to understand that he has to improve. And that's what's made him special. That's what's got him in prime position to stun Alabama. That's what has him. He's shown that each and every game. He's shown that little bit of improvement here and there. And some of it you have to really look at. It's being calm in the pocket. It's letting the rush get to him before he makes a move. It's like, waiting it out. When he runs a quarterback draw, it's a thing of beauty because he is so patient. He lets the guys think they're about to get a sack, and he just boop, boop, finds a run lane and he's off, right? 5 touchdowns, 26 of 34, the most passes, the most attempts that I think he's had in a while too. And that's usually for a guy like him, the more he throws it, the less successful he's going to be. Like if you were to put this stat line out there last year, like if you said, hey, last year's Pavia is going to throw the ball 34 times, I wouldn't have said he's going to throw for over 300 yards and 5 touchdowns. I would have said Vanderbilt's in trouble because they lost their ability to run the ball. But it's absolutely astounding how good he's been. And he's only going to get better. Like, everyone's talking about this environment at Alabama. It's not going to affect him. He's so poised. He's so he understands what needs to happen. He understands what the defense is going to do. I guarantee you he's going to study that Georgia tape. I guarantee you he's going to figure out, okay, Georgia did this against Alabama's defense, and we're going to try to hit the same things. Georgia ran well in Alabama's defense. And I think Diego Pavia is going to use that to his advantage. He's going to use that to build a passing game. I think the offensive coaching staff for Vanderbilt is in a better position to try to neutralize what Alabama does defensively. Now, Alabama has some studs defensively, so it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge, but it's going, like, I think they, like, for people to write this game off as they're going to kill them are stupid. Doubt Diego Pavia at your own risk. He's going to make a historic run. He's in prime position to stun Alabama. He's doing, because he does the things that he needs to do to be successful. He puts in the work. He's not all talk. He's not all lip service. He's not all in front of the cameras. He's sneaking into the gym at 3:00 in the morning. He's getting extra throws in with his receivers. He's leading. He's telling guys, hey, break this way, break that way, set him up. He's going to do this. And it happens. Like, the things that he does as a leader is incredible. And it's helping his passing game. It's helping his own ability to function as a quarterback because he studies so hard, because he knows he has to. And that's the key to this whole thing. He's playing the quarterback position 100 times better than he ever has. And that's because he's doing the work off of the field to prepare for the work on the field, to prepare for the looks he's going to get. Utah State threw a bunch at him. They threw twists, they threw blitzes, they put a lot at his feet. They pressured him. He didn't phase. His offensive line didn't phase. And I think Tim Beck is doing a great job of setting up this offense to where it's not all on Diego. I think they're setting it up too. I think they're setting this up for Diego to thrive, but they've somehow found that balance of, hey, we're going to put Diego in the prime position to thrive, but we're also going to take the pressure off of him, and we're going to spread this thing around. And the other guys have stepped up as well. And Diego Pavia has led the way, and those guys have responded. Now they're leaders. And so it's just a ripple effect. And so that's why I believe that. That's why I believe in Diego Pavia, because he is actually, I'll leave you with this. He's actually putting his money where his mouth is in this scenario. Like, you ever hear somebody that you think is all talking about, hey, put your money where your mouth is, and they usually back away. Diego has not. And he's got some weapons. He's got some great things. Junior Sherrill, he's locked in. We're going to answer some questions on defense. We're going to continue to transition over to what Alabama brings to the table. So we're going to do all of that next. First, I want to talk to you about 5-Hour Energy. Man, its caffeine flavor just got an upgrade. 5-Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. What I love them much is how portable they are. Big taste, tiny shot. You can take it anywhere, get that boost when you need it. You can throw it in your back pocket. If you're just walking down the street, put it in your bag. Put it in your backpack. You can load up a handful, put it in your backpack. I don't think you'll need a handful, but you can do that if you want. Some people just love taking those shots. I wouldn't advise taking a bunch of them, but I always reach for my favorite flavor, and that's lemon lime. I love the lemon lime flavor. I love the orange flavor. It's just refreshing. Give me that quick lift before a busy day. Just the classic flavors are the best. I even like kind of like the wild berry flavors, or like the multi-berry flavors, or whatever. I even like those. But there's some new limited time, like cranberry lime. There's like some like ghost berry, like I can't remember the names of them off the top of my head, but they're good. That cranberry lime one's going to be extremely good. I think that's going to be. I just love citrus things. That's kind of my thing. So. I like how fast it kicks in. I like that it's sugar free. I don't have to worry about crashing later. Like, I can take one and be like, all right, I'm cool. So enough with the boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeines a flavor upgrade with 5-Hour Energy. Get the favorites you love and be bold and try something new in store and online at 5hourenergy.com or shop Amazon today. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. You need a second listen, Locked On SEC. Chris Gordy does a phenomenal job covering the conference. We are a significant part of what we do. This conference has amazing hosts. So any show you want to look at in the SEC stratosphere, feel free. Luke Robinson and Jimmy Stein are outstanding. So we're going to, it's going to be great, man. It's going to be great. So they're at Locked On Bama. We're going to do a crossover. It's going to be phenomenal. So check it out. But anyway, Junior Sherrill, I want to talk about him for a second. He had a breakout game in his own right. He caught 6 passes, 91 yards, scored 3 touchdowns. He almost had 100 yards. No one's had 100 yards yet. He was just barely under that, but he had a monster day. He's had a monster couple of games. He's really starting to emerge as a weapon. I just wanted to make sure, he's going to be a guy, and he had a huge moment in last year's Alabama game. And I think, as he's breaking out, he's going to be a legitimate factor. He's going to be somebody that Alabama has to pay attention to, right? They're going to get him involved in screens. They're going to push him down the field. They're going to cross him. They're going to do a whole bunch of things with him. This is just the tip of the iceberg with Junior. And he's great at blocking. He's tough. He has a great mentality. So I'm very excited about the direction of this offense and how Junior Sherrill is going to be locked in. Now, I want to talk about defense though before this thing gets too far away from us. Junior Sherrill is going to be awesome. There's going to be more to him. He's going to be heavily involved in the game plan. But this defense, are there questions or not? Because when you look at a game like the Utah State game, you see the penalties. Some were probably bogus. I don't know. I would have to watch the film. I'm not really going to watch the film on that. But one of the things I notice about this defense is this. They're going to be aggressive. And you're going to get some aggressive penalties, right? And I said it in my post-game reaction. I'm not sure that Langston Patterson's allowed to hit the quarterback. I don't think they allow that. I think every time he hits the quarterback, he gets a penalty. This time he landed on him weird. Roughing the passer. No, there was no roughing the passer there. He landed on him clean. What's he supposed to do? Anyway, I'm not gonna complain about officiating. I did that in the last episode. But this defense, I think honestly, and what we learned, and I'll throw up the graphic here. The defense has to play cleaner, man, and they have to operate aggressively, because I think our defense is predicated on that. That's the identity. That's always been the identity. I think last year when we were more aggressive, we were better. But I think Clark Lee kind of got lost in the minutia of being a head coach, and I don't think he could quite put things together, because when you're aggressive, you have to be really intentional on how you match your coverages and how you communicate, and it's a lot more detailed of an operation when you play aggressively versus just sitting back, reading, playing coverages and things like that, and just getting guys whatever. But so with that, you're going to have some aggressive penalties. So those things are going to happen. It's kind of the nature of the beast. But how do they respond? And on third down, this is going to be the biggest hurdle. They're going to have to figure out ways to get off the field on third down, because watching Alabama, I'm going to throw out another quick preview here, but watching Alabama on third down against Georgia was artwork in motion, right? That was art in motion. They were elite on third down. Ty Simpson has next level grasp of this offense. Right? This is Ryan Grubb's first year. So, I think it's the same system, but when you change coordinators, there's always a transition period. Now, maybe that transition period was the Florida State game, and then he figured it out after that. I don't know, but something got into him, and man, he is just – that guy doesn't miss, dude. He is accurate. He throws with anticipation. He can buy himself some time. He's not a natural runner. He's not a guy that wants to run, but he can if he needs to, and he can do it well. And so what this defense needs to do is I think they've got to do a better job of containing, and they've got to do – and what we learned is that we're still not quite together on a lot of things. What we learned from this Utah State game is that we still have a ways to go as far as affecting the quarterback. I think there's some obvious things there that need to happen. And I don't know if it's play calling I don't know if that needs to change. I think there's a little bit of an element to that. Personnel wise, I think you have to execute better in space. I think you have to be mindful of the space that you're creating by making your moves. And I think you have to play complementary if you're going to be aggressive. Like, somebody has to be there to have your back. So what we learned about this defense is, yeah, they're resilient, they're physical, they're going to hit you, but the operation just isn't quite as clean as we want it to be. And it's a learning experience. So it's not me saying this defense sucks. That's far from that. So if anyone drops in the comments and says, oh, you said defense sucks, you're wrong. Because I'm not saying the defense sucks. The defense has been very good. They've been very physical. They have helped take over games, especially on the front end. But I think sometimes we get a little off kilter when we get aggressive. I think there's some, there's got to be a little bit better, more intentional conversations to be had between the front and the secondary. And it's just making sure people are on the same page, because if you're not on the same page against Bama, they're going to dice you up. Ty Simpson showed that. He proved that, because Georgia's defense looked lost. They got badly outcoached. And so, there's going to be a great game plan. We know that. And we know they're going to be good at making adjustments. But again, I think they got to start fast. I think they've got to play aggressively and tackle well. And that's the essence of it, honestly. I don't think there's any significant questions about this defense. I just think that they could be cleaner. They could be a little bit cleaner in the operation a little bit. And they could be cleaner in play calling. They'd be cleaner with penalties. They can be cleaner in coverages. They can be better tacklers. They can always improve on those things. And honestly, I think you're going to see a much, much different defense this week against Alabama. So not overly worried about it, but it's going to be exciting nonetheless. College GameDay is going to be there. We open up as significant underdogs. I'm going to do my initial reaction of Alabama. We'll do that next. Hey, first I want to talk to you about Quo. One of the tools that help make a huge difference for business owners is Quo, formerly Open Phone. It's the same great business phone system you've heard me talk about before, just with a new name. Here's why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table. We don't like leaving money on the table. When every customer conversation counts, you need a phone system that keeps you connected 24/7. Quo is the number one business phone system that streamlines customer communications. It works right through an app on your phone or computer, so no more carrying two phones or relying on a landline. And honestly, I love the built-in AI agent. That's a freaking game changer, man. After hours calls, capture leads, and keep business moving even when you're off the clock. Those kind of things are outstanding, because it helps you keep that edge without having to be there 24/7. So I can see why, and so can you, why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly Open Phone, to get started free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedoncollege. That's QUO.com/lockedoncollege. If you got an existing number with another service, Quo will port them over at no extra charge. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Now, FanDuel. I'm a little mad at FanDuel. Not mad at FanDuel. I'm mad at myself for making bad picks on FanDuel. But I'm going to get those right. My parlays were awful this weekend. Don't let yours be awful. And I had no chance at the bonus. But, football season's raging on, man. And right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So, I think if Vanderbilt didn't give up that last touchdown, I would have had to bet that one. I maybe could have got my $300 bonus. That was a bad beat. So I still love it, though. I think FanDuel is still the best. I think it's still a great way to play. I think it makes games more exciting. I think, you start tuning in, you're like, oh, I got, I had Georgia Tech minus 13.5. That went south, man. I thought it was like 13.5 against Wake Forest. Georgia Tech's rolling. Here we go. No. And it just makes it more fun. Same game parlays. When I bet NFL games, I like to do the player props. That's my favorite thing. And, live lines during the games. I've done that before. I didn't do that this past Saturday, but I've done that before, and it's a lot of fun as well, man. If you're a casual fan or you love diving into stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, wrap it up here. Man, we got a lot to talk about. Bama week. It is Bama week at Locked on Vandy on all social media platforms. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'm almost to 1,000. I'm getting there, right? So College GameDay coming to town. Got to love it. Well, no, it's not coming to town. It's coming to Tuscaloosa because it's a road game for Vanderbilt. But GameDay said, you know what? Out of all the games we could pick this weekend, Alabama versus Vanderbilt, ranked matchup. Let that sink in for a second. Alabama versus Vanderbilt is a ranked matchup. And not like Alabama's number, I'll tell you what Alabama is. It's not, Alabama is number 11 and Vanderbilt's number 25, who just barely snuck in. It is number 11 versus number 17 as far as coaches poll. And if you look at AP, it's, Vandy's ranked 16th. But it's great. College GameDay is like, hey, we're going to Tuscaloosa. Now, here's the opening line here. Vanderbilt opens up at Alabama opens up minus 11.5. They're 11.5 point favorites over Vanderbilt. The spread is over under at 56.5. So they think there's going to be a lot of points scored. Now, here's my thoughts on that opening line. Obviously, they're giving Alabama a lot of credit for going into Athens and beating Georgia. But when you look at these two teams play, it's a ranked matchup. And if you've watched Vanderbilt, and I think this line will get teased down. I think this line on game day will be about 6.5 in favor of Alabama. But if you can get Vandy at minus 11.5, get it. That would be something to jump in on. But I just, for Alabama, they started red hot against Georgia. And then they didn't score any points in the second half. Kirby Smart made adjustments, and I think Clark Lee is every bit of a defensive genius as Kirby Smart is. I think they made great adjustments in the second half. But still, they've got to, Georgia was terrible on third down. And they couldn't get off the field. They got outcoached, honestly. They really did. They got outcoached. And some of that is, I think Georgia just has too much as far as their scheme goes. I don't think they're simple. I don't think they're simplified enough for this transfer portal era where you've got guys, your whole defense is going to be new almost just about every year. So, but the way I see this is, and I said this before, like this is going to, Ty Simpson is a great quarterback. I wasn't sure what his supporting cast was going to give him. I wasn't sure how Bama was going to react. And even after the Florida State game, I was like, well, this team is, there's something functionally wrong with this team. They're not reacting to Coach DeBoer like they should, and this could put DeBoer on the hottest of hot seats. But he has since cooled that seat way down. And I think people are starting to become believers in Coach DeBoer. He's getting settled in. I think the guys actually do play for him. They're a really tough team. So when you look at this spread, it is obviously a little bit of respect to what Bama has done and what they've done historically. It's also taking into account that they're playing at home, which they're saying is probably going to give you a touchdown just with the environment. And then the fact that Ty Simpson, it's just been throwing darts. But I don't think it takes into account what Vanderbilt has been able to do at the line of scrimmage, what Diego Pavia has been able to do, what this running game has been able to do, with this team with nobody that has rushed or received for over 100 yards in a game, what they've been able to do to opponents in different environments. Now, I know Alabama is not South Carolina. They're way better. I get that. But, I honestly, with this particular team, I can't speak for future Vanderbilt teams here, but I can speak for this particular team. I just don't think there's environments that are going to really bother them. They're not bothered by that. They're actually, I think that fires up Diego Pavia. I think the more people that boo him, he loves that kind of stuff, man. He's like, Clark Lee described him as a lunatic, in the best way possible. And I think that's true. So more on Alabama. We're going to break down more of Alabama's performance and what needs to happen with Vanderbilt game plan wise on both sides of the ball. Just kind of early look at things. And so we're going to, we're going to go from there. All right. So that being said, we learned a lot. Diego Pavia is poised. He had a historic game. This team is ready to make a run. They just got to go and do it. So until next time, anchor down.